All right. Good morning and welcome back, everybody, to our second episode of this 6-week series. Today, the topic that we're going to be talking about is the first steps into the training world. And with me, I have three gorgeous ladies who will be sharing their experiences. So, for those of you who missed our first episode, just go back on the Facebook page where last week's topic was on branding for trainers. So, if you noticed, last week we have panels of all males. This week we have a panel of all ladies. So welcome back again, and this is going to be an exciting day. Now, if you are watching on Facebook, can I get you to give a reaction, a thumbs up, or a like, or something, so we know that you are watching on to us today. Now, so a bit about me first. So my name is Isaac Peter. I'm the founder and CEO of People Performance. We are a learning specialist, and what I love doing is really, besides working with clients, really working with trainers, which is why we created this particular series. Today's session, we're going before I get the trainers to share about themselves, kind of just give you a bit of background on today's episode. One of the things that we know is, starting the first step into anything is always the most difficult step. And over the years, even for myself as well as the trainers that we'll be sharing later, there is always this what I think is going to happen versus what actually happens. That's one. Secondly, the kind of journey that we go through, perhaps the frustration that we might face, or the right or wrong people we might meet. So there are a lot of things that happens, and for some people that can be a put off, and a lot of us are always looking for how can I start it right? How can I start my journey in a way that it's a lot easier? And today, as our panelists share, and they're going to share their own journeys, the high moments and the low moments in terms of their journey joining the training industry. Now, you will hear me interchanging between the word trainees and facilitators, because I'm not going to be making that distinction now, because those who are watching are probably doing either one of this. So just be mindful about the languaging. What else? Right, so this is not a training session, so this is a sharing session. What that means is you're going to hear a lot of our stories and the journeys and the challenges that we make. As we are sharing, please feel free to write your questions in the comment box in the Facebook, so that my panelists and I is able to pick it up and share with you. Right now, just a bit more. Oh yes. So one question I had last week is about do you do mentoring or do you just do live? So in performance, what I've been doing is since last year, we have actually started a mentoring program for new trainers. We are planning to do one perhaps second half of this year. And if you're interested, please let us know. I'll include you in the mailing list. But for now, we're gonna listen to our panelists share. So let me first wish all my panelists good morning. Panelists, good morning.
Good morning, Isaac.
Good morning, Isaac.
Right. Good morning to everybody. So what I like to do is to start off by getting each of us to share our background and a little bit about ourselves, so our listeners are able to connect with us, right? So if I were to use alphabetically, Catherine, could you start first?
Yeah, sure. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Isaac. My name is Catherine, and I come from China. So far, I have been living and working in Malaysia for 9 years. I come from HR background, so I'm a HR practitioner. Thank you.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. And it's interesting. I know Catherine for quite a while, and later as she shares her journey, it'll be interesting. Though she said HR practitioner, there's a lot more behind that she will share. And I'm looking forward, Catherine, for you to share more of yourself. All right. We have M and S. Who goes first? Okay, Mahler. Yes.
I also had to check my alphabet. Thank you, Isaac.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I wasn't sure whether M comes first or S comes first. Okay.
M comes first.
Yeah. I just realized that. Thanks. My name is Mahler. I'm with Hearts and Minds Development Center, which I started, I think, 20 years ago. Yeah, I know. I kept my gray, but I think some of it looks highlighted. So yes, you can check us out on Hearts and Minds Development Center. I generally focus on personal development work. In fact, I think the kind of work that we do in Hearts and Minds is about relationships and results, because both matters. But if we had to choose one, we are strong advocates of relationships and people-centric models, right? And that, which is why we dabble with a lot with emotional intelligence, and that's because I haven't conquered my emotions yet. All right, so and Isaac knows that. Thanks, Isaac. Back to you.
Marla, thank you very much. So Marla is another one. For those of you who already know her, I think she's an amazing person, and there's so much more that she has to offer. What's interesting, as I was preparing Marla, I think the challenge for her is to hold back because we have 1 hour, right? Thank you, Marla. Shubha, your turn.
Hi, I'm Shubha. People also call me Shubi. My background is medical science. I was attached to University Malaya Medical Center, Department of Pathology for 12 years. And yeah, I know it's kind of sick working with dead bodies. Then I thought of switching myself into something more fun, which is TTT, Train the Trainer. So I took up Train the Trainer in 2015, and I was still passive then. But in the recent years, I've been very actively training, and yes, and Isaac been my mentor since then. So that's about me.
Thank you very much. And it'd be interesting to hear Shubha's story, working with people who don't respond and working with people who respond, right?
Yep.
Sometimes I prefer those who doesn't respond.
That was my challenge actually.
Good. And today, that's what this whole episode is about. Right. For those listening to us today, so once again, the format of this sharing is very easy. There are 4 questions that my panelists are going to share upon, right? So the first question that they're going to be answering afterwards is, what made them join the training industry? And I think this is a very important question for everyone on us, because it becomes a kind of a self-check in terms of why, the big why. So if you're familiar with Simon Sinek's word, why is always the most important. So what got us in, right? That's the first question. Second question they're going to be responding to is, what are the challenges, not just challenges, but what are some of the shocks that they experienced as they got into the training world? And the third question will be, is a national level HR in Singapore, where I started my career, you'll be ACTA as the basics. In Australia, you'll be your Cert 4. In UK, you have another national. So every country has their own national level certification. And what we want to ask is this sufficient for us to do well in the industry? And the last question would be a takeaway question, which is, what are the 3 things that they would advise you as to be in your priority list as you start this journey? So sit back, enjoy the sharing session, and you notice a lot of us have things on the head. If you look at Mahler's head carefully, there is a clip somewhere there. You have to play treasure hunt with her to find it. So please feel free to ask us a question. Once again, if I can get you to limit your questions relevant to the topic, because we have another 4 more topics coming up over the next 4 weeks, right? So let's try to keep it there. Now, yes, another person that have not been introduced. You notice both my hands are up, which means I'm not touching my keyboard. We have Shazwan Saleh. So Shazwan Saleh is a consultant working with me, and he is the man behind the scene that's making this live work for all of us. So hands out. So it gives a thumbs up to Shazwan, right? A clap to Shazwan for doing the most difficult part of the work, keeping the iceberg afloat, right? So that's great. Now, you notice Mahler is having, so you notice I have my balloon, all of us be having this. So what you will see is, when the trainers are picking this up, it doesn't mean there's a pop quiz, neither does it mean you want something. All it means that the trainers have something to interject or to share, and therefore they will raise up their stuff, all right? Okay, so that's that. Now, so with that, let's start. So ladies, I would like to start first question, and I'm just going to keep it open. So whoever starts first starts, right? The question is, what made you join the training world, right? Open to you.
Alphabetical order.
Okay, let's do the reverse then, since it's a lot easier, right? Shubha, since you started first, right?
Okay, why did I join the training industry? Okay, I had few reasons. One is I enjoyed my work. I loved being pathology, a technologist in the department, and I loved my job. I think I worked with bacteria and viruses and dead people along my life throughout the 12 years. And yeah, medical line is something which is huge, and we cover a lot of aspects from microbiology to pathology, from blood and everything else. So I loved my job. The only reason I left was because from KL we shifted to Klang. At that point of time, I was having trouble really traveling from Klang to UH every morning and coming back from there. It's a hassle. I was not able to clock in at 8 o'clock, and I had to leave at 5, and the jam was massive. Another thing in between, when my daughter started schooling, I have to send her to school in the morning, which is like 7:30, and 7:30 putting her in 10B school and then running to KL. I think it's like I couldn't make it. It was really a stress for me. So then I decided to kind of like take a decision. So spoke to my spouse, and he said, okay, yeah, I think I have to stop this because I can't take the stress of traveling and have to look for other options. So that's the reason why I quit my job, and I looked into training because I wanted to share whatever knowledge that I had with my background. And I thought I can actually engage with people with the way I want to express the knowledge. So that was the reason why I took up training, and yeah, kind of enjoying it now.
Ah, cool, cool. You're saying, so one thing that motivated you, I mean, of all, I mean, you could have opened a nasi lemak stall and start something, right? But you chose to get into training, and you're talking about sharing. Why is this sharing thing? Yeah, why sharing things?
Okay, neuroscience is one field that fascinates me. And I thought a lot of things actually can be done with your brains, with your skills, with humans by adapting to this knowledge of neuroscience. It really fascinates me. So I thought I can actually imbibe this into my training to engage people to really understand that they have this huge skill that is already within them. And they can transform anything in whatever field they want to, whether it's emotional intelligence, whether it's sales, or even working with your bosses. You can just transform everything by knowing how to apply these brain skills. So I wanted to imbibe this knowledge into my training, which I do at the moment. So I'm kind of brainwashing people.
Cool. Thank you very much for that, Shubha. So your really sounds like a lot more of your passion is in terms of helping people discover themselves by just understanding how do you tweak in the brain, right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shubha.
Thank
you so much. Malar, you're up.
Yes. Well, I stumbled upon training by accident. I am from a very small town in Ipoh. Came over to KL to do my studies part-time because those days degrees were not available in small towns, right? Obviously, I didn't make it to the local university. I didn't get the course that I want. But I have a big ego, so I decided I need to catch up with my friends who made it to the university. So I packed my bags and came to KL. And I actually did my degree part-time. So as I was doing my degree, I did a couple of other courses. So when I finished my degree, I joined an organization, actually, to be specific. I was with Bank Negara, then I joined Sandabi. I thought I was settled, and then I attended a program which really changed my life, right? So I think the problem with me is that I've always followed my heart. So I literally fell in love with training because I saw this trainer. I think some of you may know, there's this guy, Kartigesu Sivalingam. Kartigesu, yeah. So Karti did this program, and I was actually just observing, and I saw how people's eyes just, and I wanted to do that, not so much for a living. I actually just wanted to learn the program because it had a major impact. I could see how negative I was. I could see how hopeless I was feeling, and I was very angry, right, at that time. And the program helped me, of course, with awesome skills that Karti had, made me see that I could make a difference. And all I wanted to do is I wanted to become a trainer simply to take back that particular program to the likes of me, back to my hometown. So that was how naive I was. Never thought I would make a career out of it. Never thought of it as a business. I still don't consider it as a business. In fact, I think for me, it's very much my own journey of learning, So if you ask me last 20 years, what have I been doing? I've just been work in progress. And that's what training does for me. And I can't imagine my life without the kind of things that I've learned and helped myself with. And that's really what I wish for all the people I meet, whether they're participants or people I meet. I think we all can learn to live a more fulfilling life. Yeah, so that's what training means to me.
Thank you very much, Malar. I think what's interesting is about, this whole idea of falling in love, tendency we tend to apply more related people, but there's also this thing about, I don't know, this whole thing about falling in love with yourself, recognizing that what you're called for is to really either be a beacon of hope, to be able to shine light to people. I thought that seems to be very true from what I've known you all this while, right? It's always about heart of giving.
Yeah, I think it's really for me, and people don't have to agree with me. Is that
I don't always agree.
I think it's deciding between whether you're doing something because it's a calling or a career. I mean, we've just celebrated Mother's Day, right? Some people will look at it as a job, as a career. I have to do it. But if you see it as a calling, your whole experience of life shifts. And that's true with, I think, every relationship and every opportunity that you bring life. Because if you see it as a calling, I mean, why did I meet Isaac, right?
A question for another time.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So I think it's my belief that everything, nothing happens by accident, right? And sometimes we don't understand it because we have not connected the dots, right? But we can only connect the dots by moving forward and then looking back.
Wow, okay, that's cool. Right, thank you very much, Mala, for that. I like the way you present in terms of. I think what connects with a lot of people with you is the sincerity and humility that you have in the way you present. I mean, if you have never mentioned to anybody you've been doing this 20 years, I think most people wouldn't know that's how long you've been doing this, right? Yes.
I don't know about humility. I'm quite allergic to the word humble because I'm not, right? But another way of looking at it is, I've been in this for 20 years because I'm a slow learner. That's another way of looking at it. Now that keeps me humble.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Malar. And Catherine, what's your story? What made you join the training industry?
Before I joined training industry, I was a training manager in one of the global 500 fortunes. And I was happily working there because the work process I was very familiar with, and my colleagues and the boss are very friendly. Actually, I was thinking maybe I will retire with the company because I was with them quite a long time. But things has changed since my kids come back from China. She was 3 years old and she need to come back to Malaysia for kindergarten life. And at the beginning, when she come back to Malaysia, in the first 1 year, she was not comfortable with the life in Malaysia. For example, a language barrier. When she was growing up in China, so she could only speak Mandarin. So when she joined kindergarten, she even couldn't understand single word like going to toilet, I want to poo-poo, I'm hungry, and she was even not aware that people was calling her name. In kindergarten, teachers call her IC name, but at home we call her Chinese nickname. So she was very uncomfortable, so she always fall sick. And when she falls sick, like got fever, any other diseases, I need to bring her to hospital. So that means I need to frequently take leaves, and I feel very I feel very sad about my work because I'm a person who is particular about working attitude. I think attendance is part of working attitude. So that's why I decided to make a move from a corporate life to a business life. And when I made this decision, I was thinking among so many things I can do. And I also received many suggestions from my family and also my friends. But I think among so many choices I had at that time, I feel that I had working experience across all the functions within HR. For example, like recruitment, performance management, employee relationship, and the training and the development. And I found that I had a passion in talent development. So that's why at that time I also want to follow my heart. I want to do something I love, I have passion, so I can be consistent. So that's how I make decision to do the training life.
So for you, it's more like a logical decision of how you want to proceed. Is that correct?
Yes, it's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, cool. I think what's interesting is we all have our stories, and there's no such thing as a one way to get into the training industry, right? For some people, if they like Mahler, is about feeling like calling. For some of us, it's more the what we call it, a logical decision. So like Catherine, it is the sequence. For Shuba, it is about I need. Perhaps it's a time where you felt I need to spend a bit more time with my daughter, and then you don't want to be traveling. So we all have our reasons, right? One of the things that not saying often, but I do hear a fair bit, and I would like to get your input. So this is open to any three of you. It's an additional question. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. Thanks for saying hi. Daniel will be on with us, I think, for the next episode. So I will tune in on that. So one of the questions one of the things that I observed is some people came into the training industry because the first thing that they appeal to them is that it's an easy way to make money, right? What is your take on that? Is that a good, bad, strong? What's your take on money as a good motivator to get into the industry? Any thoughts?
Okay, let me give my input. Yeah, I think money is a priority. The fact that we all actually had a second opinion about going back to job and facing some crisis and attendance and travel and all that, obviously we have to look into other source of income. Because we've been working, we were not like a housewife, so we were independent, whereby we had like the flow of cash coming in every month. So when I stopped for a while, and when I did not have that, I felt like this is not me, and I've got to do something. I'm so used to being independent. I don't have to rely on anyone for a salary, so I got to do something about it. So that's a big motivator too, definitely.
Shuba, thank you very much, because I thought that was an interesting point, because especially women today, there's this sense of independence that they want, and I thought what you shared, and it's in a very open and transparent way that it's part of the way we have been brought up also. Right? Cool, thank you. Anyone else?
I think from my personal experience, perhaps the answer is yes and no, because I saw some trainers before they come out from corporate life. They were already doing some kind of training, and they were doing very well. And after they come out, they make a fortune. They make a lot of money. But personally, I think I'm not that kind of person who is being talented in speaking, public speaking, and also training skills. So along the way, I pick up it handfully, I think. Yeah, so I learn a lot after I come out from corporate life.
Oh, cool. Thank you very much. Mala, if there's not anything from your end?
No, I mean, I think money has become the common denominator for many things that we measure in life. So I think at the end of the day is how you want to measure your life, right? And whether we like it or not, and you look around, everything is around money. Right? So is money important? Yes, but it's I think how you want to make the money and how you want to use the money, right? Because there are people who make a lot of money, and you will see a lot of advertisements for easy money, right? If that's your value, to want things easily, then you would be attracted to it. Some people will want to make money, and in business we call it clean profit or clean money, right? So if that's your value, so I think it really depends on where you are, who you are, what you've been brought up with, what you've been brainwashed with in the past, right? And because that impacts your perspective of life, right? But having said that, a lot of people who approach me for training will want to. The first thing they think is that training money is easy, all right? But I don't think it's easy, because for you to become really good at what you do, there's a lot of back end investment that goes in, which I think we don't really talk about until you get into it. Because
Yep.
people see you, you go out there and you do a training program. It's almost like a show, right? A show that you watch, right? It's a one-day show. It was a great feeling, great results. Oh my God, the money is so good, but they don't recognize all the background work that goes into it. So is it easy? Not for me, lah.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much. I think kind of just closing up on this particular question. So it's interesting. I think we all recognize that money is important, and I think it's important for us to be able to first recognize to ourselves and to the people that we're working with, right? I mean, I've worked with trainers where they are struggling, and the first question that we thought is money. Is this enough for you, right? And not to focus just purely on are you there to transform people, and so I think about trainers. We need to be real ourselves about what's our motivation. Right, I think, and as we go further, the next question will be an interesting question, because when we talk about money, we also talk about, besides money, what other challenges we face into getting training industry. So this leads us to Malar. Daniel, you know Daniel.
Hi,
You, right?
Daniel.
Says,
Hi.
Right. So if there's any question, just put it on. If not, the next question we talk about is, what are the challenges and the shock? What are the things that you got in and you say, oh, I thought it's supposed to be like that, but it turns out like that. Who would maybe I'll get Catherine to start first. All right. So what are some of the challenges and shock you face? Yeah.
Okay, there are several challenges I face in the initial stage. The first challenge is that business mindset. When I was working in corporate, I think most of the time I'm thinking from employees' perspective. So after I come out from corporate life, I realized that I'm into business. So I need to use business mindset. Business mindset in terms of like business people always talk about cost effective, what value do you bring to the customers, and also like how much time does it need it. So all these kind of things are related to business mindset, which at the initial stage I didn't have. Yeah. So I think that's my biggest obstacle. Yeah.
What made you realize? I mean, what made you realize about it?
Okay. What made me realize is that I'm blessed with a supportive network. So every time when I started to talk in depth of talent development, technique, language, the people beside me, they will remind me, they will say, hey, what you taught is too technique, we couldn't understand. Can you give some simple language, simple examples to illustrate it? So that made me understand, oh, I am talking about talent development. I'm not talking about business. I'm not using the simple language that everybody can understand. Yeah, so I think I got continuous feedback from people around me.
Okay, cool. So the ability to take feedback openly and to listen helped you in terms of managing that. All right.
Yes. At the beginning, when I received those kind of feedback, it was very painful because I didn't know that I have so many blind spots. I thought everything is perfect. I'm entering a field I'm very familiar with, but then I realized I have zero knowledge when entering the training world. Yeah. So yeah, but that's a big aha moment for me. I'm blessed that now I realize that.
Okay, Catherine, just want to ask a question with you, because you say you came with zero knowledge, but yeah. We have had a few conversations, and you did share that when you were in employment, you were doing in-house training, which means yes, as a trainer you had a training knowledge, right? So yeah. Perhaps for those who, and this might be, your sharing might be helpful to those who are currently doing in-house training. What are some of the challenges you face, and what are kind of the shock and adjustment you need to make moving from an in-house trainer to an independent trainer?
Okay, I think the challenge for me to move from in-house trainer to independent trainer is that when I was working with my ex-company, it was easy for me to build up relationship with employees, because we're all working in the same group, and we had a lot of opportunities and interactions to build up the bond. So when I conduct training, even my training was not perfect or I have a lot of improvement, because of the relationship, because of the bonding, they would be more supportive, encouraging to me. So every time when they give me like evaluations, they will say, good job, I like it, I learn a lot. Yeah. So this kind of gives me a very good feeling that, oh, I'm very good in training. Yeah, but after I come out as an independent trainer, I don't have much time to build up relationship and bonding with my clients. So when I deliver training, they'll be more picky, or they would judge from their own perspective. So they will give me very direct feedback and evaluation. So I think this is a difference I realized after I conduct few trainings.
Thanks for that. I mean, it's interesting because you are doing training then and now, and you mentioned the whole thing about relationship is one. And you also, I thought it's interesting because the quality of feedback or the feedback people give us also depends on the relationship. When it's a corporate setting where it's a client, people tend to be more so honest about their feedback. But within an organization, sometimes the feedback may be a bit more biased to make us feel good because there's a relationship. Thanks for that, Catherine. Along with anything else, please come back. Shubha, you have a lot of fans, I see. But before we go to the questions, perhaps Shubha, the challenge and shock you faced moving from a professional role into a training role.
Yes, of course. Initially, I was working with dead bodies. People don't speak. And coming into training world, everybody's like, you got to speak more. And yes, I've done some trainings in the past during my medical years where we have internship students, we have continuous medical learning and all that stuff. So I've done some trainings along that line. We have to do a presentation, you have to do a conference, you have to prepare for a conference, what do you call that, article write-up and presentation for, any medical conference, Asian or international level. So on a big scale of public viewers, I've done some one or two kind of engagement in that level. Even there was one in NUS, National University of Singapore. So we had a conference, so I had to do a presentation there. So but it's a different world where, because you're talking to all the people from the same niche coming from the medical aspect. But right. Switching from that to something a bit more open and vulnerable to all kind of industry, training is like open, not specifically to one industry, whereby you have to engage with different clients. And the first thing that actually I had my aha moment was when I was tagging along with some senior trainers, and where they gave me a slot, one or two slots to put in my inputs on leadership. That was a leadership training. I think I went on a little bit more on the teaching kind of style rather than a training style. Maybe because it was the student engagement previously in the university. So I actually did that training, that initial training in sort of a classroom kind of, probably a teaching mode rather than a training mode. And I was not able to distinguish between these two until the senior trainer actually told me that, Shubha, you have to go through this process and it should be like this. But it was a learning curve for me. I took it as a learning process because I was tagging along with a senior person, very much way long in a training industry. And actually, I gained a lot of knowledge from him. And that was one. Another problem I had when I actually turun padang into this training world is all the words, some of the terms which I was not familiar of. I thought it was like real jargon. What is this? I'm so familiar with all this, medical terms. That's different. But coming to training terms where they had TP and whatever all these terms, with HR terms and all that. At first, I was like kind of like, what is this? So I had to learn. I have to pick up some of these verbal codes and terminologies that actually they use, the trainers use actually. So that was my kind of challenge. Yeah.
Cool. So you're saying about basically the lingo or the jargons that people use, right? And I think it's like in the medical world, they have their own jargon. So as long as everybody speaks, we know we are in the same group. So in the training world, it's also the same, right? There are certain words that people use, and if you don't know, they will look at you one kind and then wondering what's going on. Are you a real trainer or not? So familiarizing yourself with jargon helps.
Yep.
Kind of thing. And cool. And we'll push that to the third question in terms of, what are the skills? Because people do ask, hey, and I get this a lot, I've been a HR person for the last 20 years. I've been a director for the last 20 years. Let me train, and the assumption is, as long as I can speak, I can train, right? Yeah. Was that something that you kind of observed or went through it yourself?
Yes, You really have to observe what's happening. Do tag along with some of the seniors and learn from them, learn their skills, how they do it. One of the best ways is to copy and paste for those.
Share a bit more.
Share a bit more on that. Oh, okay. If you're really new, like I have Deva questioned here, how training can be a career for students. Initial state, like for students coming in, you see, it's going to be a new world where you don't have an idea what is training about. So I'm sure you're going to face some of those jargons, working with training providers and sort. What you can do is you can actually tag along with one of those seniors that you're familiar of, like any trainers that you are inspired or you want to work with. So tag along with them, get their permission, go along with them and learn how they do it. Pick a niche, maybe you can look at stress management or sales or some HR perspective. Go along with them and learn how they do it. And
Okay.
from there, you catch up and copy and paste. See what they do. Probably the initial stage, you can copy and paste it. When you do the training, kind of like paste it. Work your way, and then along the way, you make some changes and amend it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Shubham, because it kind of gives a very holistic perspective of how a subject matter expert getting to industry itself. And Malar, so Malar, I'm going to change the question slightly for you because you end up starting your own training company instead of just being an independent trainer. And I thought that gives a nice feel because I do believe there are trainers who are asking themselves, should I be an independent trainer and work for everyone, or should I start my own training company, right? And as well as what are some challenges, what are some things that you face with regards to this? You have 5 minutes.
Okay, so you know how to okay, I'm checking the time. All right, so now you've surprised me, you've hijacked me from my line of thinking, right? So I had joined a training company and I thought I would retire there. And when I joined at the right time or the wrong time, which was 97. So I left a stable job, joined a training company because I had a dream. In 97, 98, I think all of us who are young enough will remember the crisis. And so almost in a year, I became jobless. Jobless in the sense that, my boss really couldn't pay us, right? So a lot of us left. So it was a crucial time. I had to decide whether I was serious about training, right? So for 2 years, I worked without the salary, right?
Wow.
And and I feel I need to defend my boss. So just in case you think my boss was a jerk, no, he wasn't. I stayed there. He gave me the option, but he did tell me we really can't afford you, right? And I chose to stay, right? I chose to stay and I chose to work because I truly believe that I was serious about training. And of course, if you go back 20 years, we didn't know what options you don't know what options you have anyway, right? It's not a Google away the way it is today. So number one. Number two, I shadowed trainers and eventually in 2000, I got my first break within that company, right? And I started doing training and I started off as an assistant where I will push my way every weekend into training programs and just do one module, right? Now, again, my next shock was I lost the job that I thought I would retire in, right? And it happened overnight. There was a crisis and I left. And so when I left and, with no savings, I had two choices, either to go back to corporate training, that means look for a job, or, be an independent trainer. But I think my problem is that I have difficulty compromising. It is really a problem. I won't even paint it as, oh, it's nice. The price is high, right? So what I had learned in my previous company, working with clients, is that what you see and the reality that you need to work with is different. Because when you're working for people, you need to, people have bills to pay, right? And you got to be real, right? And I had difficulty with that, right? I was ideal, and it's difficult to be ideal, right? So what do? Nobody will employ you with your ideals, right? Unless something meets. I didn't know where to find. I said, okay, I'm really an accidental entrepreneur, if you want to call me that. I don't take pride in saying I'm an entrepreneur. I did my own business, but I am very, very happy that I do this because I think what it has done for me, Hearts and Minds, what it has done for me is that it has helped me to find me and take a stand about my life and who I am,
Mm.
and to express myself without strings attached to me, right? But you need to, we talk about branding today.
Yeah.
So every brand has a value, but before the value, there's a price that you pay for your brand.
Yeah.
Right? And I think you need to be ready to pay that price, right? Because people look at Apple and everybody wants to be Steve Jobs, right? But you're looking at the Apple after Steve Jobs paid the price, right? It's that kind of an illusion. I think sometimes it's an illusion to say that, oh, someone is a founder, someone owns a company, so it must be glamorous, it'd be great. So if you ask me, what is the greatest gift I get from Hearts and Minds? I get to be me, right? For me, that's the value of Hearts and Minds.
Nice. Thank you so much for that, Mala. I think I like what you shared about one reason you started on your own, because there are certain values that you're not willing to compromise. And I don't think it's to say that everybody has to do that, because we have different values, we have different stage of growth, right? I think what was interesting with your story is you started off, you journeyed along the way, you have worked with different people, and therefore you came to a point where you say, okay, it's now for me to live my value. And I think I share a very similar journey with you, which is how I moved out from consulting, working with a consulting firm in Singapore, to starting on my own. So thank you very much for sharing that. Yes.
So just to add on to that, when I started off, I didn't know those were values. So it's just that I knew that I couldn't be somebody else when people wanted me to be. And for me, my connection to values is very simple. If I do something and I cannot sleep, I know I've done something wrong. So if you ask me, I do whatever that is considered value-centric only because it helps me to sleep well in the night. Just to put values into context, yeah?
Sounds like we are on this same journey called aging. Right. No, but I like what you shared. I think that's very important for a lot of new trainers, because I think one of the challenge of grappling is, and I think somebody shared just now, I think was it Kamin shared, and I'm going to read that a little bit more. In terms of, you need to know what are your realities, what are the challenges you're facing, right? If it is a financial issue, do whatever you need, and if you're okay with that, just go ahead. If you're at a point where you felt it's about giving back, go ahead. Like one of the reasons I end up doing my own, because I've always had, like you, Malar, I have this idealistic thinking of, I'm here for the client. And when I was with my consulting company previously, and I loved the work that they did, but after a while you realize if you have obligation to push certain products, you tend to use that first rather than listen to the client. So I had a bit of a challenge with that. So that got me up. And that's also one reason why I'm doing this particular talk, because everybody talks about developing trainers, but I think that there are some trainers out there, and I think one of the things I'm trying to do is bring more trainers to do that together. It's really about developing. Now, Kamin brought up a very good point. Said that when I first started, it was a battle between opportunity based on performance and quality, and offering something below market price. People often come and say, I got a lower price from another service provider, be it training or writing, editing. It was tough, but I kept it to the market price, which is slightly lower, is fine, but not too low, and believed in my work. Not to brag. And I think it's not about bragging. It's really, I think the concept of bragging is a very Asian thing, right? I think it's more a lot about liberating others through sharing our experiences. So great job for doing this, for keeping to the market price. You say people often came to me and say, sorry, not to brag, but eventually people came to me for my work. Amazing. So that's your brand. Not only as a trainer, but also as in writing and editing job. Another aspect which was getting the right network. And I think that's something we are going to have more conversations. I learned that at times you have to attend seminars and widen your network. So you have to go out there and create a bond. Also, follow up on service is important. I always have a bit of free service, not to gain sales, but I love doing what I do. And giving a bit extra will never kill me. It is always a learning curve, and sharing a bit of my thoughts here. Shubha, Kamin is your friend.
Yeah, hi Kamini. Glad that you joined us today.
Cool. For other trainers out there, new trainers out there, please feel free to share experiences. This is all about sharing. Ladies, so one of the points that came out, which is very much of what we wanted to talk here, is building your network of people, who and what people around you that's important in developing your journey. Who would like to go with this? Is it important to network, and what do you do to network? Yep.
Okay, so currently, I think looking from back to where it is, I love LinkedIn. I think Isaac, you would know that. I've only become active on LinkedIn in the last 1 year because I just love the kind of people I meet on LinkedIn. So do I network? No, I don't really network in the past as much because I think it all depends. I think being a mother of 3 children, it doesn't leave you too much of time between work and all the other things that you want to do. I'm already grateful I have a great career, right? So I think networking, is it important? Is it powerful? Yes, but I also think from my perspective, the check-in for me is very much, why do I want to network? I am a very true believer of deep relationship, not just this hi-bye, I'll keep in touch, exchange card, and then nothing happens. So again, I mean, this is one of the aging process, Isaac. But having said that, I have very, very good mentors, right? I think people are talking about mentoring now. I am where I am because I've been very blessed to have people who are very serious and ideal about their career. So I think if you're in the training industry, I've been very, very blessed and lucky to have met people like Fuad Abdul Rahman, who got me into training, who taught me the ropes. I was with George for 10 years when I had my first child, where I started training for him because I wanted to let go of my business because I couldn't focus on both. And he said, come, be here as long as you want, right? And Monroe, Terry Netto, name it. Now, if you look at these names, these are people who've invested their life in learning and education. They truly believe in learning and education. I learned NLP from Anne Monroe. And until today, she is my teacher, right? So I have a group of people that I go to on a yearly basis so that they can knock my head, right? And I make it a point to have it once a year with some people. And I usually choose my mentors for things that I don't like they say about me, because they really hurt my ego, right? Terry is one of them, right? Because he will always ask me an opposing question, or he tells me to do things that I don't like to do, right? And so I go in with a question, and they would usually leave me with a question. So what I hate about all these mentors is they don't give me answers, right? And so what happens is that, I'll go with a question and say, I want to do this, and how do I do that? And they would usually often end up, they end up leaving me with a question that bothers me for 12 months. Because then I go back and read books, watch videos. I'll write to them and ask them what books they are reading, and I'll see which one appeals to me. Because when I meet them again, I want to catch up with their thinking, right? So that's the kind of mentoring I've had. I do a lot of online courses, all for free. My mentors have always been for free, so I'm very, very grateful. And I think there are 2 different types of mentors, coaches that I have seen evolving in the last 20 years. One who's genuinely interested in your growth, and they push you. They push you because they see potential in you, they see the pitfalls in you. Then there are the other group of life coaches, mentors, and the whole works, who will clock in according to the hours that they clock in. And I think the differentiator, so I'm not against money for these people because they do work, but I think the differentiator for me is how much they have invested in living what they talk about, and that's important for me, right? And I've been very blessed with that. Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think that's. Thank you for sharing that. Really, so one of the things, if you're a new trainer, find a mentor. Now, a mentor doesn't have to be an old person. A mentor can be young people. What's important is, and in terms of mentoring, there are many ways to look, right? You can go into subject matter expert mentors or life mentor. There are many. You don't have to stick to one. There is no such thing as I can only have one mentor. You can have a few, right? In fact, I'm meeting a new mentor after the break, after the MCO. So I'm working with one guy in terms of the area of social media marketing and stuff like that. So that's for me. Now, somebody asked a question. And I'm going to open up to Sun, right? Just starting out, not sure how to put my price. Any advice? If the price is right, that's an old game, man. Okay, so who would like to attempt this? One Nadia asked, just starting out, not sure how to put my price.
Depends. Is she working alone or is she working with a training provider?
Okay, so let's make assumptions. Let's make the assumption that she is pricing it so that she's selling it to a training provider. That seems to be many of the new trainers I've came across so far.
Okay, if you're working with training provider, if you're a HRDF certified trainer, you should be aware of the claimable amount which is available from the HRDF. So some clients or the company can actually claim about 5,000 per day, isn't it? Is that 5,000 per day?
5,000 for technical skills, 6,000.
6,000. That's per day. Assuming that if you're working with a client directly, but if you're working with a training provider who's the medium person who actually are introducing you to the company or the organization where you want to do the training, then probably you want to negotiate the price with them in that scale of ranging from 1,500 to 2,500 along there, depending on your skill as well as your experience.
Cool, thank you. Catherine, any thoughts from you?
Yes. Apart from what Shubha mentioned, actually I realized that there are two sectors in market. One is the clients, they will pay HRDF. Another sector is the clients, they don't pay HRDF. And I was working in the sector which didn't pay HRDF before. So I think coming back to this question is, who are your clients? If your client is new staff or executives, then you know where you should like charge the price. And if your client is CEO, chief levels like CFO, chief marketing officer, then you can charge more. So I think it depends on your clients, what kind of clients you have.
Okay, it depends on the clients. Cool. Mala, you want to say anything or you want to pass it?
Yeah, I'll pass this.
All right. So my take on this generally, and this is just a general observation in the Malaysian context, right? So Shubha, you said about 5,000. Let's talk about soft skill. 5,000 is a HRDF rate. Most training providers pay between 20 to 30% of the fee. So if it's 5,000, it's about 20-30% goes to the trainer. Generally, that's what I've noticed the trend. Fair or not, I'm not answering the question whether it's fair or not. But generally, that's how I notice the pegging. 20 to 30% of the selling price goes to the trainer. So that's one indicator. In Malaysia, there is no such thing as a nominal base rate, right? In Singapore, we usually have some kind of base rate, probably about 1,000 to 1,500 per day Sing dollar. But in Malaysia, there is no base rate. So it goes into your experience. My take would be, if you are very new and nobody knows you, and this is going to be very controversial, make it easy by giving a rate that allows you to start off, right? And this is controversial because it differs for different people. Senior trainers may not like it, but it helps for the junior trainers. Everybody needs to find a footing into it. A concept which I call a foot in the door. So if you are new, that could probably be your differentiator, unless you already have a following. So just kind of pull back to the question just now about networking. Now, the next week's session focuses on building strategic network. So for those who wants to know how do I go about building strategic network, join us next week. But now we want to talk about the pricing. So that is in terms of pricing, that's one. Secondly, you need to be realistic in terms of how special your program is. One of the things that I see work, which I'm not comfortable, but I notice works, is make your workshop title wow, right? So for example, you put leadership training, nobody buys, but you say something like, the most amazing leader, you probably get a bit more traction. So be mindful that you are playing what we call a marketing game too. So that, just to take note on that. So yeah, so that comes in terms of pricing. Yeah, Shubha.
Can I just add to that? The pricing, if you are working with TP, then you have to consider the 20 to 30%, as Isaac mentioned. But if you are using your networks like LinkedIn or Facebook, where you come in contact some bosses or the someone who's in the organization directly in your LinkedIn group, then you can actually negotiate the price directly with them.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. Some kind of finder's fee or referral fees, right?
Yeah.
Zorab shared something on that, like to share a bit my 1 year experience. So some of you may know Zorab. Zorab, he was in the banking industry. He came out many years of experience. So share a bit his 1 year solopreneur. Talks about passion, subject matter expert, have a pragmatic plan, right? And once again, those of you are familiar with personality, you realize the word pragmatic means differently to different people. Do network and speak to many who have journeyed the same. So once again, you guys are seeing each other on the Facebook page. Please start connecting. I think this is an opportunity for you guys to start connecting and not wait for just a topic. Take whatever opportunity that comes, great. So just take whatever comes. So, you know, while it may be controversial, whatever project, just come and get yourself started. It's better to start. Yeah. Yes,
yeah. Sorry, I just want to add just one more thing about pricing, since you have said. One of those things I have realized from the past to now is that I think we need to recognize that clients talk to each other. So I have seen my other trainer friends who have a different price tag for different types of clients, right? And I think we need to again put ourselves in the client's position and your own branding to see how do you want your clients, the decision makers in this case, those who are making the check for you, how do you want them to see you? Because the moment they know that, it's just like, you go out there and you buy stuff, right? If you pay different price just because you drive a better car or you dress better, whether you would like it, right? So I think this is where the clarity of the value that you bring in. Some people differentiate pricing based on experience, based on the accreditation that they have, based on the status, training status that they have, right? So I think you need to be clear about what's the value that you're bringing in. Yeah, and to be consistent with that, because and especially now it's just a check away, right? So things are so transparent. You don't want to do anything behind anybody's back because you really don't know when it will come back to haunt you. God lives in social media now, So
I follow a show called God Friended Me, but anyway. So yeah, maybe another quick pointer when it comes to pricing, because this is a very sensitive and it's a very, what we call a closed thing, right? I would say if you are new, send out your things to many training providers. Don't just get stuck to one, because there isn't nobody will want to create a mutual exclusive relationship with you if they don't know you, right? So the parable of the sower. Sow as much, and then as the different one grows, start to pick. So what happens for most independent trainers is you start by reaching out to 10, 20, 30, 50 training providers. Now, you may like some of them, you may not like some of them, put that aside. But as the business grows, you can start choosing which training providers you want to work with. And then you'll probably end up narrowing to maybe 2 or 3 that you really love to work with, right? So that's one kind of thing. I would like to move the third question, and I thought this is an important question, is about skills and knowledge, right? So one of the things that I noticed in the Malaysian context is this thing called the HRDF certification, or what I call the national level certification. As a trainer, is the national level certification enough for me to be successful in the industry? Malar, start first, since you have been quite a while in the industry. Keep it.
Is it? Yes, I think HRDF TTT was introduced because there were a lot of complaints on the quality of training.
Right.
Because anyone and everyone could become a trainer. So what I think HRDF does is that it makes sure that people have basic basic qualification in training, right? I mean, it's like you could have a degree. If you wanted to teach, you need to do 1 year of you need to do a certification in teaching. So I think that's what HRDF does for you. And I think it is it important? I think that is just to make sure that people who come into the industry are serious and they're investing time with the basic skills. So if you ask me, HRDF certification isn't enough. I think it is entry qualification for you to make sure you're decent in the market. Then again, your quality matters, right? So what I find useful is that I think just like personalities, we will need to find our niche. Our niche has a combination of factors. So what makes you a good trainer to becoming a great trainer, for example, right? And you will find different schools of thought. Some people will say you need to coach, you need to facilitate, you need to train, and I'm still very confused with all of it, right? Then you need to
in our 4th session, we'll be talking on that.
And then now you need to gamify, and now when you go online, oh my goodness, so there are so many skills, right? But I think as a trainer, what we need to think about is that at the end of the day, the people who make us successful are 2 groups, right? One is the guy who opens the door for you in the organization, right? And the other one, the real success is what your participants say about you. Right now, and I think when we talk about whether you talk about teaching, training, facility, whatever you want to call it, the success is very much what people take away, all right, and what methods would work for them, right? Because you'll find that even though facilitation, I know facilitation is good, but sometimes you need a bit of training skills to give them basic input, because Malaysians don't read. They won't do pre-work, they won't watch videos, right? So you can do anything, but when you give them a facilitative activity to say, based on this, and they get so upset because they say, we pay you, you're supposed to tell us, and you're supposed to tell us in an entertaining way. So you need to learn storytelling, right? So I think it's really positioning of who you are and what you want to leave behind with the audience that you are actually meeting, and what are the combination of skills that you need to make that happen, right? I think that becomes important, and I think you need to go and learn this in whatever way you can, all right? And of course, if you're working with HRDF clients, you need HRDF certification. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Mother, for that. I think what I call for you is the national level certification is probably your base level, but there are other skills that you pick up. And also once you pick up, then that whole idea of specialization and all. Right. Thank you for that. Shubha, Catherine, anything else to add on to that, or any from your point?
Yes, adding on to that, I really agree with Malar. What I think everybody should know is, to be in Malaysia and to run a training, most of the clients and government are actually looking for HRDF certified trainers. So I think it's becoming a compulsory. That is to differentiate among people out there who are real good skilled trainers comparing to someone who just want to come into a training field and they just want to start teaching something. It's just look at it as a license. If you want to drive, you need a driving license. So if you want to train, it's like a license for yourself to train. All right, so it's something that carries throughout your life. But one thing I would really appreciate is if there is a continuous training education for the trainers. If HRDF can actually do that, probably quarterly or 2 times in a year, we can actually go in for a training education camp, go back for a 2-day session where we can gain more knowledge on the training skills. As there's a gamification now, and there's so many other, even now virtual learning. So probably HRDF can actually facilitate that to trainers along the way. But otherwise, it's a license that you really need for now.
Thank you for that. Catherine, anything to add to that?
Yes, on top of that, this question reminds me that my working experience when I was handling talent development. So when we was working like with talents, all these talents, they are subject matters. For example, they are from IT, they are from accounts, or they are from actors like background. So normally those professionals, they will have a renewable license, which means like 2 to 3 years, they need to have some career professional development learning hours. Then easily can renew that license. It's not a lifelong license. So I think as far as like training concerned, we're also subject matters. So having HRDF TTT certificate is a good start. But if we want to do this job for a long time, we also need to upgrade ourselves because we need to have a lifelong learning attitude.
Thank you so much. I think it's important because I do speak to some people and most of them thought HRDF certification is the pinnacle of it all. Once you get that, you are set for life. So it's refreshing to hear, especially for us to talk about it is a journey and it's continuously, things are evolving. If you are not online, you're going to have challenges, methodology and all changes. So yeah, so for trainers out there, HRDF is the start. You do need to, it's good for you to start looking out for what else to be done. Right? And right, time checks 11:05. Last question, and we want to keep this very succinct, 3 points if possible, like a 3-point format, university style, right? 3 tips or 3 things that you would advise new trainers to do or to prioritize in their journey. We'll start with Catherine.
Number 1, business mindset. Number 2, use business language. Number 3, find a supportive network.
All right, cool. Thank you very much. Shubha.
Number 1, open to explore it. It's a good opportunity out there, especially for students who are looking at all the unemployment crisis at the moment. So it's a good opportunity. So be open to explore it. Number 2, learn as you progress. Learn from your seniors, learn from your mentors as you go along with it. And number 3 is give a value-added sharing in your training session.
Right, cool. Thank you very much. Malar, only 3.
Okay, only 3. So I'm not going to do any of those. So I'll just ask you to ask 3 questions. First question, who am I? Right. And why do I want to do this? And how am I going to get this out? And that would set you to bring all the things that Shubha and Catherine and Isaac will say and all the other trainers will say. It will just fit in. All the best.
Thank you very much. So thank you very much for viewing in. For those who are interested in terms of how to build strategic network, we'll be talking that next week. Just to quickly recap from today's session. So when we talked about your motivation, it is important to know why you're getting in it. If it is financial, fine, nothing wrong with that. If it is you want to make time for your kids, nothing wrong with that. But it's very important to know your why. Be deliberate about that. The second question talks about challenges, and the conversation goes around, especially for those of us who are subject matter expert coming in training industry. There's a different set of skills that you need to pick up in order to train so that you don't end up just teaching. For those who are already in the training industry, like in-house trainers, like what Catherine shared, you need to recognize coming into the training world is a totally different business, and some form of deep calibration needs to happen for you. So just be mindful of that. And Mala shared a lot in terms of, a journey, really. For her, it's a journey. For some of us, it's an organic thing. For some of us, it's deliberate. So you need to recognize that. Then we kind of come to the point about certification. And I think the focus is not so much the certification, but the skills. You need both. You can be a great trainer, but without certification, it makes the barrier to entry become very difficult. So take out the HRDF certification, as well as continue to upgrade yourself. And as for the advice, folks, please reach out to them. For those of you who are registered on Eventbrite, I will share you their contacts so you can get in touch with them. We do have a simple survey. Please fill out survey so we know what you benefited from the session, as well as what can be done to improve, and also what other topics you'd like to hear. A survey link should be given out to you in your Facebook comments. Apart from that, panelists, is there any last words you'd like to say to the listeners out there?
Thank you everyone for joining. I see Zorab Chong. Thank you so much for joining us as well and putting in your questions. That actually kind of brainstorming session for us here today. So thank you so much for participating.
Thanks, Shubha. Any last words, Catherine, Malar? Catherine?
Thank you, Isaac, for inviting me for this session. Personally, I also learned a lot from other panelists. And I think it's very important to find a supportive network, and this is. So if you have any other questions, we can work out together in the future.
Great. And Malar?
Isaac, thank you very much. And whoever's out there, thank you very much. If you're listening in, that means I think there's a call. I hope you listen to your call. And I can only tell you the journey is very fulfilling to change lives. So I wish everybody all the best. Reach out to me on LinkedIn or Facebook. I'm very, very happy to be of support and assistance. So thanks again. Have a lovely day and stay safe.
All right. Thank you, panelists, very much for sharing your experiences. And to the listeners out there, thank you very much for tuning in. Join us next week, as well as please share with us, and also, give us some reaction, whether you're happy with it, your thumbs up and your love. We would really appreciate that. So signing out from here, thank you everybody and have a good day.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Isaac.